Welcome to In the Arena of History. I'm Stephen Arms. Today I'm going to be doing a video dealing with the Declaration of Independence. I wrote a piece originally for one of our local papers on the Declaration, so I'm going to be using that as a resource in this today. Also, I'll read through parts from that, and then we'll discuss other aspects of it. Of course, my purpose of videos is to bring along to people the essential concepts and philosophies of the United States, in a hope to help people to acquire knowledge of this nation and to encourage to discuss their understanding with others. I'm starting with the Declaration of Independence, as I said, and I'm asking the question, are these truths self-evident? First, a rule and then a little bit of backstory. When I was teaching, I always would tell my classes that the first rule of history is that history must be viewed by the standard of its own time, not by our standards today. There's some that argue that we don't have any standards today, and I could probably make a good argument for that myself, actually. But the truth of this is that history is of its own time. You can learn from it. People are people, essentially as long as we recorded history, you find the motivations of people are always very similar. But you have to look at how people thought at the time, and were they being true to themselves at the time? Not by what we consider to be the standards of things like that today. So now the backstory. 241 years ago, in June of 1776, the Continental Congress appointed a committee of 5. Okay, with John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. Now, you know those three, most of you, because they're on your currency and various monuments. The last two were Robert Livingston and Roger Sherman. And they were given the task of drafting a declaration of separation from Great Britain. Originally, it had been thought that Adams was going to write this document, but Adams basically persuaded the committee to choose Jefferson instead. Adams believed that Jefferson was a better writer than he was, and Adams was right. I've read Jefferson and I've read Adams, and yeah, he was right. Jefferson's a better writer. So Jefferson starts to work in the United States, or at that point the American colonies, becomes committed to the struggle and the bloodletting that's going to be the Revolutionary War for our liberty and independence. The Declaration stated to the world that the 13 colonies would become separate from Great Britain. In doing this, it established, of course, the United States of America. The document originally was called A Declaration by the Representatives of the United States of America in General Congress Assembled. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Even back then, messaging was important. Declaration of Independence is a much catchier and cooler title. Now, the Declaration has basically 4 parts. It has an introduction, it has a preamble, it has a condemnation of King George and the British, and it has a conclusion. I'm not going to say that much about the condemnation and the conclusion. They're important from a historical point of view, but they don't hold the same significance as the introduction and the preamble in the world today. In an inadequate nutshell, basically, condemnation of King George and the Brits is pretty self-explanatory. They give a long list of the grievances against the king and the British. Now, in the conclusion, the most probably notable part of that is the quote, "We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to establish a free nation." Now, the introduction states, with decent respect to the king, that we, as a country, are dissolving our political ties with Britain and are taking our place as an equal nation to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, end quotes. Now, a little background here. Jefferson was a Christian deist. Deism is a belief in the existence of a supreme God that does not intervene in creation. Think of it as a clockmaker God who makes and winds and oils the clock, but mostly lets his creation run on its own. Now, this was an intellectual movement that was popular in the 17th and 18th century, and is why Jefferson uses their creator and nature's God in the Declaration. Even though Jefferson did attend church and he was in basic agreement with the moral precepts of Christianity, which he considered, again, I'll give you another quote, the most sublime and benevolent code of morals which has ever been offered to man. Now I think it's time to lay a little bit of the declaration on you. The declaration begins with, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that amongst these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The preamble of the Declaration contains some of the most quoted and misquoted words in our history. It asserts a universal truth about rights in a language that has stirred the oppressed to stand against oppressors around the world. The Declaration represents the highest principles of the American Revolution, that liberty and equality and self-determination are every person's right, and that talent and ability and enterprise, not your birth or your rank or your title, should determine your place in life. The Declaration continues with, to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Now, this is a radical idea. Government as a social contract, in which people have consented, either openly or by election, to give up some of their freedoms and accept the authority of a government in exchange for defense of other freedoms and rights. The idea that government derive their power from the governed. I'll say that again. Governments derive their power from the governed. We, the people, give them their power, and we, the people, have the right to take that power away. And the Declaration continues, prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transitory causes. And accordingly, all experience has shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing inevitably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Jefferson believed that government should not be changed without due consideration. People are willing to suffer and accept with evil that they know until they can take it no more. And a little bit of humor here to quote a certain spinach-eating American philosopher, that's all I can stands, I can't stands no more. It should be clear that Jefferson believed that if a government usurps is a great word, by the way, usurpation, I like good words, and abuses the citizens' rights too greatly, then citizens have the right to end that despotism by whatever means are required. So back to the original question, are these truths self-evident? We live in a nation that has declared such independence. Does the government serve its people, or do the people serve its government? Are we granted unalienable rights that no government has a right to take from us? And if so, can we give those rights away by contractual or by law? Can we give them away if we choose to? If you truly want an answer to this, you need to get used to disappointment. These are very complicated issues, and they're issues that have to be dealt with in the heart of every American citizen on their own. These questions in the Declaration address the elemental core of this nation. We as a nation need to consider these ideas in a serious and enduring manner. What is America? What are we and what will we become? Do we honor the past, those respected ideas of what a nation is supposed to be? Or do we choose a new path? And if we choose a new path, what's that path going to be? As a historian, I see this republic is at a crossroads currently. There are those who return to the past and those who think the past is meaningless. By my estimate, both of them are cowardly fools. Or the phrase of the day I like, cool phrase, is pusillanimous buffoons. You can probably substitute in that career politician also. We the people must learn from the past and use its lessons to create a practical, innovative future that grants all the promised self-determination of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that is guaranteed by the Declaration. Now, how do we do that? Well, that sounds like the subject for a future video. Hopefully, I've left you with questions. If so, leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Thank you kindly.